we're all consumption addicts. And one of the great things about this recent pause we're in at the moment is it really gives you a chance to think about what we consume and how we consume.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is...
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
He wants to go outside. I'll let him out.
Yeah. Mine are quiet. Where are mine? Sparky. Can you share with me a bit of your background as to how you got to where you are today? I know, that's a big ask. I realize I do this a lot and people are like, wow. It's fabulous, right?
Well, I'm, in a nutshell, I'm a corporate career person. Yes, who spent a lifetime building businesses. So I grew up in sales and marketing, and went through the classic career path from the bottom to the top in one industry, in advertising, and went from there to start building businesses. I guess I got to a point where I started to think there's got to be a better way of living. I just made a decision that the next business I built, I was going to use my powers for good instead of evil. And it's been costing me money ever since.
Tell me, what is Echo World? Because I think that's what you're building right now. So maybe describe in a few words what it is and why you're so passionate about it.
Echo World exists as a community, and we're working with RMIT Uni with computer scientists to build this thing called an Echo Score. And the Echo Score is a way of simply showing people the eco-ness of any product. And when I say eco-ness, I'm basically trying to show its sovereignty in one go. So we can give you a score out of 100 on how eco something is, but you can look at the score to see whether it's vegan or organic or fair trade, et cetera, et cetera. So the facts of the matter are that different people have different priorities and see the world differently. Some, think organic is important. Some are committed vegans. Some, the law, obviously, there are laws around slavery and fair trade and things like that as well. But people do definitely have specific focuses, and I think it's important to respect that. And essentially that's what Echo Score is trying to do.
What does it mean as a consumer of front-end waste? So that, like, for folks who aren't necessarily thinking about this or it's not front of mind, what does that look like to say, the decisions you make even before you lay your hands on a product, as an example? And we talked about consumerism, right? So is that sort of the reasons why the front end is actually more important than the back? Or
I think the front end is more important than the back, because if you didn't create it in the first place, then you don't have the back end problem. The other, I think, though, is being more aware that we are victims of consumer marketing. I mean, and I'm someone who spent a lifetime building marketing and advertising platforms. So, I mean, I understand it. So we're all being sold to all the time. And consumerism is status. So again, it's one of the great things I think about the environment we're in at the moment, because it's really reduced status to a more equal platform. There's so many things at the moment that have completely undermined the status argument. And if you don't have status, you can't sell people certain stuff. So that's one train of thinking. Yeah. So it's kind of like when you shop, it's a bit like just training yourself to say, why am I buying this? What is my motivation for buying it? And look, honestly, I think sometimes as long as you can say, well, I just want it this time, but as long as you've thought it through, it's better than just buying it without thinking, about where it's come from.
And if people are looking at ways or easy ways to reduce waste in their everyday life, that is just super simple, do you have a couple of points that we can all think about?
But realistically, waste isn't about what you do with your leftovers. Waste is thinking about what you create in the first place. I mean, I use that almond example, Californian almonds. California is the greatest producer of almonds in the world, the biggest, by far the biggest. And what's happened over the years is that almonds, first of all, use a lot of water. So a lot of the water has been sucked out of the aquifer underneath California to water almonds. And of course, they've now got land sinkage issues, massive land sinkage issues. But the biggest issue really with almonds in terms of pesticides, bees. So, of course, almonds, there are now bisexual almonds, ones that self-pollinate.
Yes, I think I read that, yes.
Yeah, but the grows in California aren't. They need to be pollinated. So, of course, what happens every year is the apirists bring in their bees. So if people don't understand what happens with a lot of beekeepers is they travel bees to places where plants need pollinating. That's very common, happens all over Australia as well. But what's happening now in these groves is the bees, millions and millions and millions of these bees are brought in every year, but about 30% of them are being killed by pesticides and herbicides. So the apirists now come in, and this has gotten worse every year. Apirists now come in with their bees knowing they're going to lose 30% of their bees, their hives. And it's kind of a deal with the devil because they need the work and yet they know they're going to lose, a big chunk of their hives. So I guess there's an example where I just simply say often insecticide-free almonds are not a great deal more expensive than plain almonds. And that's a step anyone can take just by being aware. But that's a really good example of gross waste. And we cannot afford to be losing millions of bees because, of course, we've got a global issue with bee populations anyway.
I'm only a recent recipient of understanding that. So kind of looking for information like this, it's still not in mainstream media unless I'm actively looking for it. And I stumbled upon an article particularly talking about this story, bees, almonds, etc. And I dug deeper into it as a consumer.
But I guess my argument is do the best you can with what you've got. Just be aware. That also, I think, really speaks to one of the things about this pandemic, and that is everyone makes a difference.
Yeah. One person, right?
If you never believe one person can make a difference, now I think we all do.
Without a doubt.